So I'd like you to introduce yourself. Can you just say your name and where you're from?
I'm Maureen Muthinzi from Kenya.
And what kind of work do you do?
I'm an administrative officer.
Okay, and you work for Physicians for Human Rights. And what is one of the things that you see most often in your line of work? Do you see a lot of sexual violence against women and girls, or men and boys mostly?
I see many victims of sexual violence who are women and girls.
Okay.
And mostly the girls, it's defilement cases, and women, it's rape.
Women and rape cases. Okay, and do you feel like in your country, in the country that you work, that there's a lot of youth engagement and youth speaking out about the issue?
Not quite. There are not so many youth organizations, and also there are not so many youth talking about sexual violence.
Do you feel like there's a meaningful space where youth can go to the government in that country and actually speak out and be heard?
We aren't there yet, but we are getting there. That the youth can have a voice and that they can speak on issues to do with gender-based violence.
What do you think one of the causes of gender-based violence in the country is? Is it a cultural? Is it used as a tactic? What's one of the main issues?
The main issue is the culture.
Culture.
We are still in a patriarchal society whereby the male are still viewed to be the heads of the home.
Yeah.
And so, SGBV is viewed to be shameful, so for women they'll tend to keep quiet.
And do a lot of cases you see involve the perpetrators being military or civilian?
Civilians.
So most rapists are civilians?
Apart from when it's during conflict, during the post-election violence, most of them was the military.
And can you talk a little bit about the post-election violence?
During the post-election violence, there were statistics of more than 4,000 victims of rape.
Yeah.
Majority of them were women and girls. There was also a percentage of men and boys. So far in Kenya, we have filed a public interest litigation case.
Yeah.
As a petition, we have filed it because we want for the survivors to get justice.
Do you feel like do men and boys often come forward if they're attacked? Do you feel like they want to come forward, or that they're encouraged to come forward if they're victims?
Men tend to shy away in Kenya because of the culture, and they won't come out in public to say that they were defiled.
What types of services are available to victims?
There are organizations that are offering psychosocial support.
Psychosocial support?
Like Wango Cancer Foundation.
Okay.
Also there is a child line who offer support to children, and also there are safe houses where children and women can run to.
Okay. Do you feel that the government is efficient in its infrastructure to make sure that the people have access to medical care, education, and those types of services?
The government is trying, yes, but we aren't there yet because we have 4 GBV centers in the whole of the country catering for 40 million people, so that is not yet enough. So
one of the biggest issues I think in the DRC is the issue of impunity and the low conviction rate. Do you face those same issues in Kenya?
Yeah, the conviction, because of the culture, most of the cases and the victims will tend to compromise with the perpetrator if they are paid. Let's say things like goats or cows, they never come out of the public to say what happened to them.
Are there laws in Kenya that are still lacking?
Yeah, we're still lacking in laws, despite the fact that we have the Sexual Offences Act, the SOA 206. It's there, but it hasn't fully been implemented.
And then can you talk a little bit about what you do in your line of work, what you do with victims?
I'm the administrative officer, but I engage with victims during meetings where we get to engage with survivors, get to know their stories, and maybe link them up with the relevant organizations.
Thank you. And then if you have a message to the youth in Kenya specifically, what would your message be about how to get involved with things like this? Because I know that is there the stigma in the country that sexual violence, it shouldn't be talked about? So what would your message be to youth in Kenya?
For youth in Kenya, I'll tell them it's about time that we get out and fight for the rights of our rights on sexual gender-based violence. This is because it's something that can happen to us as youth, or maybe our sisters, our brothers. So it's about time that we act.